600 years before modern Westeros time, Hardhome was halfway towards becoming the only true town north of the Wall, and was brimming with activity. Then one night, it was as if hell had swallowed it. Overnight, the site became a place of death, and afterwards, it would be considered forever cursed. There are many versions of the tale. Some people say the people of Hardhome were carried off by slavers from across the narrow sea and forced into slavery. Others say that the wildlings at Hardhome were slaughtered for meat by the cannibals from Skagos. Whatever version of the tale is true, it ended with their homes and halls being consumed by fire so great, watchers on the wall far to the south had thought the sun was rising in the north. Following that night of utter destruction, ash came down on the haunted forest and shivering sea for almost half a year. Any traders that dared to go there reported seeing a nightmarish level of devastation where the settlement had stood. All that was left were charred trees, burned bones, and waters full of swollen corpses. After this event, the only shelter left for those that dared to go to the destroyed place were the caves and the great cliff above the settlement. But even strange stories are told about these caves. One ship from the Night's Watch that went to investigate reported screams echoing down from the cliffs above Hardhome, where no living person could be found. Because the screams were described as blood-chilling shrieks, the caverns earned the nickname the Screaming Caves. Modern Westeros, 6 centuries later, still shuns the town and believes it to be haunted and cursed. The Night's Watch, including Benjen Stark, share this belief. Because Hardhome has been abandoned for so many centuries, Mother Nature has reclaimed it as her own, and the ruins of the sites are overgrown. Rangers of the Night's Watch state the ruins are haunted by ghouls, demons, and burning ghosts with an appetite for blood. So what happened at this location? What caused such a catastrophe? This video, I want to explore the theories of why Hardhome met such a terrible fate. The version that states the people of Hardhome were carried off by slavers from Essos and enslaved or taken by cannibals from Skagos doesn't exactly match up with the nightmarish level of destruction reported, nor would the fires they lit cause it to look like a sun was rising from the north. So it seems like there might be another reason for this event. Let's go through some of the possibilities. First, an asteroid or meteor impact, a bolide impact, could be to blame for Hardhome's event 600 years before the books. While a bolide has no official definition, it is generally considered a brighter than usual meteor. These meteors can be more than 2 times brighter than a full moon. Impacts on Earth have shaped our world and allowed life to form and thrive. Of course, impacts have also caused mass destruction, like seen at Hardhome. A downside to this theory is no crater is seen on the map or reported on in this area. However, the lack of an impact site can be explained. For this, most people would or do point to Tunguska event to explain why that might be. This event was an explosion in Siberia, believed to be an airburst of a meteoroid that flattened 770 square miles of forest and about 80 million trees. Though this was an impact event, there was no crater as the object had disintegrated 3 to 6 miles above the surface of Earth. The terrifying part? It created more downward energy than would occur from a nuclear explosion, and the airburst had an energy range from 3 to 5 megatons of TNT. Had this event occurred in a large city, it would have destroyed it completely. So though there is no impact crater, it's possible this type of event happened at Hardhome that caused the massive level of destruction and horror. Those that witnessed the event in Siberia reported a bluish light nearly as bright as the sun. One man said fire appeared high and wide over the forest, and the entire northern side was covered in this fire. Another witness in Siberia stated that it became so bright that it was as if there was a second sun. From this event, George could have gotten the description of the Night's Watch, believing they were seeing a second sun in the north. Of course, there was also a dramatic increase in dust particles in the air, like reported on at Hardhome. The next theory involves blaming the Maesters, which is my favorite pastime for everything, because they are spoilsports. What if the Maesters or the Citadel had a hand in taking care of Hardhome? Shortly before the destruction of Hardhome, the Citadel did become interested in the area. So the Maesters claim over 600 years ago and before the destruction of Hardhome, exact time not known, An attempt to understand wildling culture was made by one Maester Willis, who was likely sent by the Citadel, who themselves wanted more information on the free folk. Maester Willis journeyed to this area on a Pentoshi trader and wrote about his experiences, titling his work Hardhome, an account of 3 years spent beyond the wall among savages, raiders, and woods witches. To help in his writing about the customs of the wildlings, Willis established himself as a healer and counselor at Hardhome, so he could constantly interact with them and learn about their culture. While conducting his research, he was protected by Gorm the Wolf, one of 4 chiefs that shared control of Hardhome. But a few years later, Gorm was murdered in a drunken brawl, leaving the Maester in mortal danger. Why exactly he was in mortal danger, or why he couldn't have earned enough of a good reputation being their healer and counselor to be accepted without Gorm's presence, is a mystery. But the Maester had no choice but to return to the Citadel. Once safe there, he wrote down everything he had experienced at Hardhome, but a year after he was done writing, he vanished. He was last seen at the docks looking for a ship that would take him to East Watch by the sea. It was believed he was attempting to get back to Hardhome. However, what truly happened to him is yet to be discovered. So why would the Maester want to destroy Hardhome? Some say revenge. He did fear for his life and flee the area. Maybe he didn't take too kindly to that. Or maybe he discovered something at Hardhome. Maybe the others. After writing about it and trying to get the other Maesters to understand the danger, he realized he was getting nowhere. We've seen how the Maesters treat talk of magic and other such nonsense. So he took something with him to Hardhome to deal with the issue. This something backfired and destroyed the settlement. Not my favorite theory, but still fun to think about. Another theory is dragons. Dragons and their fire would explain the burned bones, the swollen corpses in the water, the charred trees, and the level of destruction. Dragon fire would also be seen as incredibly bright by those of the Night's Watch. We do have a few descriptions of dragons coming down to burn an area. One description is of Lorath and the coming of the Valerians on their dragons to destroy Carlin and his army and help Norvos. When the dragons breathed their flames on Carlin, his army, and then the Isles of Lorath, there was blood and fire everywhere. Everything went up in flames, and no man, woman, or child survived. Hardhome could have met a similar fate. But why were dragons and Valerians in this area? Maybe collecting slaves. The Valerians loved to collect slaves, and we know some Valerians were in the area of Dragonstone around the time of this event. Even if they weren't, certain areas of Essos that the Valerians controlled are kinda close to Westeros. What if some Valerians heard of the free folk in the area of Hardhome, assumed it was escaped slaves, or maybe just wanted karma to come for them? Free folk, and went to enslave them. They took the free folk and burned down the settlement. However, it is stated the Valerians didn't make a move on Westeros until Aegon the Conqueror, so maybe this theory isn't the most likely. However, historians don't know everything that happened in Westeros. In fact, some speculate that it wasn't slaves the Valerians were after, but to expand. So they sent a force to northern Westeros to then work their way down to see if they could expand their empire. They attacked the largest settlement they could find in the far north, Hardhome. However, they didn't take into account beyond the wall, there are skin changers. When they attacked Hardhome, a skin changer, or maybe multiple skin changers, tried to take over a dragon or dragons, and chaos ensued. The fight destroyed Hardhome, and the rest of the Valerians just GTFO'd. It wasn't worth losing dragons or potentially having these people control their beasts again. If this theory is true, then why did the Night's Watch not notice a dragon invasion? None of the free folk from further away noticed? And why was there no indication of a dragon or Valerians invading when the Night's Watch went to investigate? Honestly, on the talk of dragons, I kind of like the idea of fireworms. Fireworms are closely related to dragons, but have no wings. They breathe fire and can make tunnels through stone, rock, and soil. Also, these creatures are super nasty and do not like men. They will just kill them for funsies. Fireworms could explain the caves at Hardhome. They made the tunnels and lived there for some time. One day, 600-ish years ago, something woke them up and they left their caves, brought fire and death to Hardhome before returning back to their caves. They still live there, hence the screaming that is heard from them. Next, I want to talk about a very popular theory that the Faceless Men used Hardhome as a dry run for Valeria. Many people believe the Faceless Men were the cause of the doom of Valeria, a massive volcanic eruption that destroyed the Freehold and most Valerians. Some go so far as to say they used a dragon egg in the volcanoes to cause an explosion. We have read the disasters of trying to hatch dragon eggs. It is a dangerous business. The destruction of Hardhome actually sounds a lot like what happened during the Doom of Valeria shortly after this event, including the aftermath of the area being avoided, thinking it is cursed and believed to be filled with monsters and demons. While this theory could be a bit of a stretch, we know the Faceless Men are a dangerous bunch and willing to do what it takes to get a job done. But why travel to the top area of Westeros? Maybe for some privacy? Next, let's talk about volcanoes. A volcano could definitely cause this level of devastation and brightness reported in the Hardhome area. After all, there is geothermal activity in the north. Ash coming down for almost half a year in that area is very similar to a volcanic eruption. The ancient Roman city of Pompeii fell under a thick carpet of volcanic ash after Mount Vesuvius erupted. According to a witness, the dust and ash poured across the land and shrouded the city in a darkness, like the black of a closed and unlighted room. Following the destruction of Pompeii, where thousands died, the city would be abandoned for hundreds and hundreds of years. This volcano, and others, have also been known to blast volcanic matter so high in the sky that people could see it for hundreds of miles around, and the fires caused by it would be immense, which would explain the men of the Night's Watch believing they were seeing the sun in the north. Those that came back to Pompeii noted there was not much left and the level of destruction was so intense they thought the world was ending. Another similarity in the description of Hardhome after the destruction. Another piece of evidence for the volcano are the Screaming Caves. Volcanic activity has been known to create lava tubes, a type of lava cave. Some examples of this: the lava tube in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park and the lava tube system in the Canary Islands. These lava tubes might explain the Screaming Caves at Hardhome. While Hardhome doesn't reside near any mountains that could have erupted, being on a peninsula, it could be next to a submarine volcano. Underwater volcanoes exist in both shallow and deep seas and oceans. It's estimated there's over 1 million of them, and they're still being studied in our own world. Admittedly, these type of volcanoes aren't necessarily as destructive, but this type of volcano would explain the dead, bloated corpses in the water. Submarine volcanoes in this area would also explain the dragon glass abundance. Underwater volcanoes are known for producing more volcanic glass, or obsidian, than other volcanoes. Obsidian is used to kill the others, and therefore pretty valuable, especially right now in the books. Which leads me to a crackpot theory: the others destroyed Hardhome because of this. Once the free folk started building a settlement, they became a risk to the others. They didn't want any humans in a large, disciplined force in the land they were driven to. Once the others discovered that Hardhome also had an abundance of dragon glass, which could kill them, they knew the settlement had to go. So in a night of pure horror, they destroyed the town and everyone in it. It is reported as still cursed and filled with demons because the others made it that way. They kept some friends behind, maybe some undead buddies, to watch the town and make sure the free folk didn't rebuild. Hardhome 2.0 happened when the others realized that they were back again 600 years later. This theory is a bit weak as the others were supposed to be hibernating until recently, but we don't have all the information and only what characters have stated. As George has said, his characters can be unreliable and only share what they believe is true, not necessarily what is actually true. There are tons and tons more fan theories on what happened at Hardhome, and I could probably go on and on and on, but I want to hear your theories about Hardhome. Which theory do you stand behind? Which do you hate? And if your theory wasn't listed here, what do you think happened at Hardhome all those years ago?